Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and welcome to Season 17 of Pokemon Go Battle League. There are well over 100 Pokemon impacted by this balance update, so we're going to have a lot to get to. In today's video, we're taking a look at the addition of Icy Wind to Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff was already a pretty solid Pokemon, but now with Icy Wind and its guaranteed attack drop, this makes Wigglytuff way more deadly in neutral situations, especially when shields are up. And due to the power of Icy Wind, Wigglytuff is now the undisputed #1 charmer in the Great League, even outclassing Shadow Alolan Ninetales. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and let's get toxic with Icy Wind Wigglytuff. Hopping to the first match, and we see a massive core breaker on the lead, leading Dunsparce into Obstagoon. I save switch into Froslass, as Froslass can do okay here, and as you may notice, I'm actually not running Avalanche on the Froslass, I'm trying out the new move of Triple Axel. You're going to see after a few battles, Triple Axel definitely not the way to go. Triple Axel works out nicely in this matchup, just because the opponent is going to attempt to try and go for a Fairy Wind farm down, and due to the boosted damage from the Powder Snows, I almost get a farm down myself. My opponent tries for the farm down, but Froslass says no, making it to another Triple Axel, and we force both shields. Opponent leaves with a massive amount of energy, but I can just tank that energy on Dunsparce and save 2 shields for the Wigglytuff. Again, with Icy Wind, it allows Wigglytuff a lot more play in shielded situations, even compared to other Charmers. They go for the double Meteor Mash, they send in the Goon, I'm going to be able to send in the Wigglytuff, and at this point the opponent no longer has a win con in the back. They have Knockdown farming up energy, but I'm able to make it to the Icy Wind. Icy Wind is quite a bit cheaper than a potential Ice Beam, which is what it had previously. The Icy Wind connects. At this point, the opponent realizes there is not a win con, and they resign the match. We see a tough lead in the next match, Dunsparce into Buzzwole. I'm going to save switch into Froslass. Opponent is going to respond with Carbink. Definitely not a great start to these battles, starting off the season with some really tough luck. Triple Axel, however, is going to boost my attack. I'm hoping that I can potentially make it to 3 Triple Axels, maybe force a shield, but unfortunately it is not to be. My health is just getting farmed down too quickly by the Carbink, and I faint just shy of that 3rd Triple Axel. I send in the Dunsparce. My goal now is just to absorb energy on the Dunsparce and trust in 2 shield Wigglytuff. Because again, Wigglytuff has a truly absurd win rate in the 2 shield now that it has access to Icy Wind. Rock Slide will connect. I'm looking to farm up, and I'm at the back-to-back moves. I'll have the Drill Run loaded to be able to KO the Carbink, and I have the Rock Slide, which can hit neutral onto the Buzzwole. In comes the Buzzwole. I'm firing off the Rock Slide to get some neutral chip damage, and then it's Wigglytuff time. In comes the Wigglytuff. In the back, opponent has a Water Gun Lantern, and this is a matchup that is winnable in the 2 shield for Wigglytuff. The only question will be, is how much health am I going to have left at the end of this? I fire off the Icy Wind, opponent committing the shield. Even though they know I'm throwing a resisted move, they have to shield, as they're already below half health. They go for the Surf. I will commit the shield. I continue to farm up with the Wigglytuff, and I'm going for shield number 2 as they fire off their Surf. This is going to be close. Can I get the farm down here? Wigglytuff farming up. Cannot make it to the farm down. Maybe I should have thrown the Icy Wind there to debuff. As you're going to see, I'm able to get the farm down, but I'm just too low in terms of HP, and I resign the match. So maybe I had a better shot if I Icy Wind the Lantern, and that way I leave with a little bit of extra health, but unfortunately, it was not to be. I move into the next match here, leading Dunsparce into Swampert. Swampert, a bit of a core breaker for this team. Again, to start off the season, I wanted to try some bit of more anti-meta picks, so I do have the Dunsparce on the lead compared to a potential more meta option. Drill Run will be shielded. I'm now going to save switch into the Froslass. Opponent firing off a Hydro Cannon. I know I can tank a Hydro, so I'm going to let this go. I continue to farm up with the Froslass. Opponent is going to go for an Avalanche catch as they send in their Araquanid. And I have switched to Avalanche for this game. And I believe for the rest of the battles, there will be Avalanche. Opponent goes for the Bubble Beam, but guess what? That's not going to be enough to KO. I'm able to survive the Bubble Beam barely and make it to the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball not going to be enough to KO either, but this is just going to set up an energy lead for Wigglytuff. And an energy lead and 2 shields. Wigglytuff is very, very scary. Wigglytuff gets the farm down. Opponent sending in the Swampert. Swampert is going to be firing off energy, and I'm going to be committing the shield. If they're sending this in, my guess is they're going to be weak in the back. I look to farm up, try and go for the Icy Wind, but I get outpaced by a turn, as Swampert will make it to the Hydro Cannon. But now, I can commit to the farm down. What does the opponent have in the back? They have a Ferrothorn of all things. So the opponent definitely should have sent in the Ferrothorn to the Wigglytuff. Maybe they thought that they could make it to extra moves, but again, this is early ranks, so we will see, again, some interesting teams and interesting plays from the opponents. Icy Wind is going to be connecting onto that Ferrothorn, and they're now double debuffed. They're going to fire off a move. They go for the Thunder here. Thunder just not going to cut it after the double debuff, and the opponent resigns the match. We see the Dream lead in the next match, Dunsparce into Talonflame. Opponent save switches into Superior, and I have a great response available in Froslass. They can outpace due to the energy lead, but I do tank a Frenzy Plant, and then Avalanche is going to do massive damage. Oh, it looks like I may have gotten these two battles out of order here, so it looks like we have one more battle with Triple Axel, and I believe this is the battle that made me switch. Which Triple Axel, unfortunately, is not enough to get the farm down here. Superior, able to force a shield, and that's a problem, as now I'm down a shield. They send in the Sand Slash, I'm unable to make it to the Shadow Ball, and my opponent, their counts are on point. They let that through, and unfortunately, my Wigglytuff has nowhere to go. My best use of the Wigglytuff is against the Alolan Sandslash because they have 0 fast move pressure because their Shadow Claw is double resisted, but that Talonflame is going to be an issue. I send in the Dunsparce. Dunsparce farming up and firing off the Rock Slide. This is double super effective damage, but Talonflame has 2 shields to hide behind, and here's where the shield advantage that they gained in the mid game for me having Triple Axel is probably going to end up costing me. I'm looking to make it to 2 more Rock Slides, but the Incinerates are adding up. Talonflame and any of these newly boosted Incinerate Pokemon are quite scary. Talonflame gets the farm down. I send in the Wigglytuff, but unfortunately, it's just too little too late. I'm going to be able to get rid of the Talonflame, but the Sandslash can just go for a Drill Run, and Drill Run is going to be game over for the Wiggly. So as I mentioned, this was the game where I decided, you know what, Triple Axel, definitely not it for Froslass, as it just put the entire team, well, the entire rest of the team, in a pretty awkward situation in the endgame here. And unfortunately, Wigglytuff just didn't really have anywhere to go, considering they had the Fire type and the Steel type. We are back with Avalanche in the next match, and picking up a positive lead, Dunsparce into Lantern. After I switched over to Avalanche, the team started working a heck of a lot better. Just, it is way better synergy that way, as typically if you're running a move like Triple Axel, you would ideally want to give shields to the Pokemon that's using it, as my opponent tries to end up going for the charge attack priority, but I end up going for the extra, and I get an entire move for free. Now, save switching a Froslass into a Lantern seems like a bit of an unusual play, but this team is very predicated around baiting out a Fire type or a Steel type. So I am going to save switch into the Froslass, look to overfarm quite a lot of energy here, and I save a bunch of energy on the Dunsparce, so that way, if they have one, then I can get rid of it, and trust in the Wigglytuff to sweep in the back. I'm at the back-to-back Avalanches here. Opponent is going to let that through. What do they have back there? It's the Fire Flyer, but it's actually Charizard instead of Talonflame, so the other main Fire Flying type. Avalanche will be shielded. Charizard leaving with 5 wing attacks. In comes the Dunsparce, and they are short of a Blast Burn. I can confidently no-shield here, understanding that they're not at the move. In the back, opponent has Trevenant, and Wigglytuff is here to absolutely shut it down. I'm going to be able to fully charm down here, and I should leave pretty close to an Icy Wind to throw at the Charizard, and this is a Shadow Charizard, so Icy Wind is going to do a ton of damage. And again, this is where Icy Wind being a lot cheaper than Ice Beam as well is incredibly helpful, as now I can fire off this Icy Wind. Opponent can't afford to shield it, and look at the damage here. That does quite a lot of damage onto the Charizard. Charizard just has to hope for the wing attack farm down, but due to the debuff from that Wigglytuff, that's not going to happen. I'm at the back-to-back Rock Slides. They shield the first, but they don't have a shield for the second. And with Avalanche, the team working quite a bit better as we take the win. Moving into the next match, leading Dunsparce into Azumarill. Azumarill is a Pokemon that is pretty awkward for this team to deal with. Again, I was trying to run more off-meta picks instead of like top-meta right away, and there are definitely some weaknesses in the team's coverage, one of them definitely being Azumarill. Azumarill farming up a ton of energy here. I am able to make it to the second Drill Run, and that's going to get Azu below half health. After they fire off a move here, I may look to try and save switch into the Froslass, again, just to check and see, do they have one of those Fire types or Steel types lurking in the back? This is a play rough, I'm fine with that, I know I'm going to be able to survive this. Opponent, now going to send in Galarian Stunfisk, I'm farming up, and I'm going for the Shadow Ball on the CMP tie. Shadow Ball not going to KO, but it will do quite a lot of damage. The opponent is stuck throwing the Rock Slide, and this is perfect. They're not able to get any extra farm versus the Froslass, and I can bring in the Dunsparce, go for 3 rollouts, and fire off the Drill Run just as they make it to their Rock Slide. Drill Run into the G-Fisk will be shielded. Opponent over farming, and they play to a CMP tie that they do not win. That is absolutely massive for me. They double shield. I'm just going to let the Dunsparce go. I'm trusting in 2 shield Wigglytuff. Again, with shields to hide behind, this thing is extremely oppressive. The opponent is just going to fire off a Rock Slide here. They're short of the Earthquake, so I can let that through. And I'm going to continue to look for a potential Charm down, but this is tough. I am going to shield once, and I'm hoping that 3 charms will be enough to kill here. But as you can see, the Stunfisk living on 1 HP, they make it to the move, and I'm just going to trust in the fact that I can do well versus whatever they have back there. They send in the Azu. I'm looking to overfarm and go for Disarming Voice. Disarming Voice will hit for neutral. Is this going to be enough to KO the Azu? Azu lives on 1 HP. The Charm gets the KO. In the back, it's Altaria. We're seeing some old meta in this new season, and Wigglytuff is here to shut it down. Icy Wind, double super effective damage, lowers their attack. Wigglytuff farms down and gets the 1v3 sweep in the endgame. Great lead in the next match. Dunsparce into Ariados. Ariados did get a new move as well. Ariados now has access to Trailblaze, but that is only enough for a lunge. So I'm very comfortable no shielding here. My opponent now going to save switch into a Gligar, and we have an amazing response available in the Froslass. I can comfortably no shield any one move here. Opponent goes for the Aerial Ace, so they're 3 off the next. So I throw 3, go for the Avalanche, and I am going to win the CMP tie. This is double super effective damage. It will easily KO. The opponent commits the shield. They're hoping that I'm not going to be able to farm down here in 5 Powder Snows, but bad news for the opponent here, as 5 Powder Snows is exactly what I need. I leave with an overwhelming amount of energy, and this is going to be really tough for my opponent. In comes the Ariados. I'm firing off the Avalanche. That does massive damage. I'm farming up, and I win the CMP tie over the Ariados. This Avalanche will easily KO. They let it through. In the back, it's a Meganium, and this game is over. In this particular instance, honestly, Froslass did a lot of the work, but I'm going to be able to close off this game nicely with the Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff farming up. Nice charge move time in there from the opponent, but Wigglytuff has some nice bulk to it. Able to withstand that Frenzy Plant, no problem, and just look to continue to farm up. Opponent firing off another Frenzy, but that's not going to be an issue. I can shield, make it to the Icy Wind, and that's going to be game over for the opponent. Super effective damage onto the Meganium, and that's a good game. Picking up a pretty good lead in the next match, Dunsparce into Carbink. Of the 3 Pokemon, this is definitely where I want to see Carbink. As Dunsparce, I was hoping by running it on the lead that I would be able to core break quite a few teams, and the Carbink staying in, it seems like they are core broken. I fire off the Drill Run, that connects, that still does not do a lot of damage to the Carbink, my goodness, and I can tank any one move here. Carbink is going to fire off the Rock Slide, I'm going to return fire with the Drill Run, and as you're going to see coming up here shortly, I'm going to make a pretty big misplay. What I should do is actually throw the Drill Run as soon as I get it, because if I do, I'm able to outpace the Carbink, but instead, I go for good timing, they make it to the Rock Slide, I live on 1 HP, but I've just sacrificed a lot of health on the Dunsparce. A rare situation where throwing on alignment may have been preferred, as there's a Lantern in the back as well, and this is going to be very, very difficult. I'm sending in the Wigglytuff, as I know Wigglytuff can do quite well here as long as shields are up. My opponent is overfarming a massive amount of energy. They're very unlikely to go for a Thunderbolt here, as it's highly likely that I'm going to shield. I shield, I build up, and I'm firing off the Icy Wind. Icy Wind is the same energy as Disarming Voice, and Disarming Voice would do a lot, so the opponent is going to commit the shield. And watch this, after the debuff, Lantern, Thunderbolt, not going to hurt at all. We tank that. In the back, it's a Shadow Charizard, and this game is over. Unfortunately, I just lose. My only win con is to call a bait, but in the moment, I didn't see it. The opponent baits, I shield the bait, and it's over. Very unfortunate there. Just quite a few misplays in that game. I felt like the game was winnable. If I just throw the Drill Run slightly earlier on the Dunsparce, I'll have a lot more health on my Dunsparce, and my opponent wouldn't really have a good Pokemon to deal with that, and that game could have gone a lot differently. And we're hopping into the final match, and guess who's back? It's Dunsparce into Azumarill. Again, Azu, a difficult Pokemon for this team to deal with. Azu just going for the Ice Beam right off the bat. You definitely do want to go for a Play Rough or a Hydro if you have it, because those moves do get same type attack bonus. I'm firing off the Drill Run. Drill Run, not going to do a whole lot of damage. Again, Dunsparce, it does have some nice bulk to it, but not getting same type attack bonus on any of its moves. It is going to suffer a little bit when it comes to damage. I'm going to send in the Froslass here. I decide to commit the shield as the opponent is going to fire off the Play Rough. Opponent now going to send in Talonflame, and this is very, very risky. I do win CMP, but it's really, really unfortunate. If they go for the extra, I don't see the Incinerate go through, so I'm like, you know what? I think I actually got the CMP tie, but I didn't. I see the damage register. Opponent fires off energy there, but that was a very strange visual glitch where it didn't show that the opponent snuck the move until after that happened. So definitely something to watch out for there in the new season. They go for the Flame Charge. I'm farming up with the Dunsparce, and I just have to get rid of the Talonflame. So I'm going to be firing off this Rock Slide. Rock Slide will KO the Talonflame. In comes the Azu. I'm farming up with the Dunsparce and making it to the Drill Run. I don't think this is quite going to be enough to KO. Drill Run connects the switch into the Wigglytuff. The Charm gets the KO. In the back, it is superior, and this is going to be tough. Opponent firing off their energy. Wigglytuff, no shields remaining, so this Frenzy Plant is going to hurt. Wigglytuff farming up, and Wigglytuff is going to make it to the Icy Wind. I even farm one Charm over just to ensure that I'm throwing on good timing, and the Icy Wind, cheaper than Ice Beam, secures the KO. All in all, Icy Wind on Wigglytuff is a really nice upgrade. It gives Wigglytuff a lot of extra play in shields up situations, and the ability to have access to ice damage at a lower energy cost is a definite plus. I think Wigglytuff can now pretty easily contend for the best Charmer in the Great League, right up there with Shadow Charm Alolan Ninetales. Granted, it is a meta that is very fire heavy, so if you're running Wigglytuff, you have to make sure that you're protecting it with your other teammates, being pretty good against fire. All in all, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.